Okay, this will be the start of my video series on chess. I've been meaning to make this video series for a while, and so I decided I will do some videos on book openings, and then I'll go over some middle game tactics, go over some chess master games, some end games, and then some of my own personal games. I think that's a good way to do it. If you haven't already check out JRoby Chess. He's also another guy who makes YouTube videos based on chess. I watch his videos periodically from time to time, and he's also provides a very interesting perspective on some of the games he's had. So I figured I'll kind of follow in his footsteps for this one, and kind of put my own little spin on it. Anyway, so this is a game I played on Chess.com against a guy who wasn't very highly rated, but I figure it's interesting to point out quite a few interesting mistakes that he and I both made. And I wasn't really taking this guy too seriously, which I probably should have, but nonetheless, this is how the game went. It went with King's Pawn game. He develops knight to f3, and I play knight to f6, noting that if knight takes e5, then my queen can then come to e7, and then you guys can kind of play around what happens after that. It will not be a playing situation for white, so I usually like to play knight to f6. And occasionally I'll play d6, but I don't like knight to c6 because of bishop b5 and then the doubling up of pawns. I'm not a big fan of that position, so I prefer to play knight to f6 or d6. So then again, here comes bishop b5. I just block with c6. Now this does stop my development for my knight, but I figure I can get him out later, and this is a good idea for me to push the d5 pawn to create an early initiative in the center. So I guess go ahead and outright take that pawn because it's not defended. Now, this may possibly be characterized as bad development, but if you look at his pieces, they're very poorly coordinated. And I have very strong attacking chances, particularly with the queen and my dark square bishop. My light square bishop and knight are kind of boxed in, but that can easily soon change. So he then takes the pawn, which I expected, and I just go ahead and kick the bishop back. And now I play queen to e7. So now I'm attacking the knight, and he plays queen to h5, which is attacking my f7 pawn for a second time with the knight and the queen. And so I decide to go ahead and play g6 with the idea that I can kick his queen off, and then later fianchetto that bishop to have an extra attacker on that knight. So he just decides to play queen to f3, a pretty safe square, still maintain a double attack. I just go ahead and just take the knight, which I don't understand why he let me just capture it. So now he just plays queen to e3. I play bishop to g7. So when my knight moves, I can potentially move the knight to f6, or I can move it to d6. Any of those two squares will probably work out nicely. Now that my queen's defended, I can, again, freely move my knight. So he forces it back. Another reason why I decided to play that bishop move there. And he doesn't take. But I decided in this position I don't want to have my queen pinned because I just didn't really like that position much. So I decided I'll just take the queen. He takes the bishop, and I decide to kingside castle, natural developing move. I have that bishop eyeing the b2 square with the idea of taking his rook on a1. He stops that altogether, knight to c3. I thought about exchanging, but I think I had better things to do, and I decided to just develop my knight to d7, so I can, in the event that the bishop comes to c5, I can just take it, and also just developing my knight. Now, my light square bishop is a little boxed in, but I have pretty solid attacking chances, relatively good center control. Could be a little better, but of course my rook on f8 can slide over to e8 for, pinning the bishop to the king, and just having excellent center control, even if he does castle. So he retreats his knight to e2. I play a5 with the idea of trapping in his light square bishop. He, I think, completely overlooks this. And I look at the position, and he doesn't have anything too strong going for him. So I decided to just do that. He takes the pawn. I take the bishop. He recaptures. And now I play b5 with the idea to have a strong queen side, and my light square bishop can now come out on the b7 diagonal. So he plays knight to c7, which obviously is attacking my rook and also attacking my weak b5 pawn. So simply can be defended with rook to b8. Then, of course, his knight comes to b5. I move my king over to h8 because I don't want to lose my light square bishop yet. In the event that his knight comes to e7 and checks my king. So he then plays e7 anyways. I play rook to e8. Now he defends, and I force that bishop back, in which then he obviously takes the pawn, which was a mistake. And now his knight is attacked 2 times. He couldn't move the knight, so he castles. I recapture with the rook. Still wanting to have my bishop on a long diagonal as opposed to e7, where it would be a little less active. And now he plays rook on f to e1. Now, I figured he probably was going from some sort of rook trade. Obviously, that's not a good position, not a good idea at all, because he only has 2 pieces left on the board besides his king and pawns. And me, I have an open board. I have significantly fewer pawns, but my board is open, and I have more minor pieces. And my king is not under a threat from anywhere. So I just go ahead and ignore that and play bishop to b7. He recaptures, my bishop recaptures. He plays rook to e1, I play rook to e8, and here the game, he just resigned. You look at his final position, I mean, there's not much he can do. He can, of course, try to attack with the pawn, but then my knight and my pawn on b5 are locked down the c5 square. I mean, clearly this game is not in his favor. Okay, so this will be the end of my first video. I'll probably do some opening videos soon, and I hope you guys enjoy. This is, again, the first video of the chess series.